You may wonder, will I be with others or alone after I die? No one can objectively prove we survive death. Yet a belief in social contact after our passing isn't just wishful fantasy. In this video, I will be talking about how often acceptance of a future welcome arises from direct subjective awareness, such as after-death communications, near-death experiences, or deathbed visions. These actually feel more real than ordinary thinking to the experiencer. Whether one sees these as psychological events, spiritual encounters, or something else entirely, what is striking is their consistency. They almost never describe isolation. Instead, they suggest presence, recognition, belonging. In many spiritual traditions, death is not portrayed as a solitary exile. Rather, it is described as entry into a continuing community, a realm in which one is known and received. Ancestors appear, loved ones gather, guides or divine beings accompany the newly departed. Even traditions that speak of the dissolution of the ego rarely frame it as loneliness. Instead, they describe it as freedom from separateness, an end to isolation, not its beginning. This convergence of thought across widely different cultures is remarkable. Again and again, humanity seems to have intuition that whatever survives death involves relationship. Most of us have heard of mediums claiming to relay messages from the spirit world. Less widely known are experiences that occur spontaneously without seance or ritual or medium. Experiences sometimes called after-death communications, or ADCs. These ADCs are defined as direct, unbidden experiences in which a bereaved person feels contacted by someone who has died. Now, one account comes from Marian, a 71-year-old woman living in Florida. One evening, as she lay in bed reading, she heard her father's voice, clearly and urgently, telling her to get out of bed. Now, he had died 33 years earlier. Perplexed but compelled, she left her bedroom and sat in the family room. Minutes later, the house shuddered violently. Cupboards rattled. Objects fell. A large branch from a neighbour's tree, on an otherwise still windless night, had crashed through her roof. When she returned to her bedroom, she found 3 large holes in the ceiling. Her bed was buried beneath plaster, timber and debris. Was this coincidence? A subconscious intuition? Or, as Marian believed, a warning from her father? Now, it is at least notable that she was not in the throes of recent grief. Decades had passed since her father's death. Researchers Bill and Judy Guggenheim explored such reports extensively in their book, Hello from Heaven. They interviewed some 2,000 people across North America, collecting more than 10,000 pages of testimony. Importantly, they excluded experiences involving seances or deliberate attempts to summon spirits. Instead, they focused only on spontaneous events. The sheer number of reports surprised them. Many described encounters occurring long after bereavement, and some involved information the experiencer claimed they could not otherwise have known. Consider another account. Melinda had grown up next door to a boy named Tom. Years later, living in Texas, she awoke one night to see him standing at the foot of her bed. He was dressed in a Navy uniform. She had believed he intended to become a Catholic priest. He spoke simply, "Goodbye, Melinda, I'm leaving now." He vanished. 3 days later, she received a letter from her mother. Tom had been killed in action, serving as a Navy chaplain. Again, skeptics may suggest coincidence, dream imagery, or the mind's mysterious capacities. Others see in such cases evidence of connection that transcends death. The interpretation remains open, but the experiences themselves are often profoundly real to those who have them. Most people who report after-death communications do so once, or perhaps twice in a whole lifetime. But there was one historical figure who claimed far more extensive encounters. He was the 18th century Swedish thinker Emanuel Swedenborg. Swedenborg described numerous conscious experiences of what he called the spiritual world. Unlike fleeting visions, he said these occurred whilst he was fully awake and in possession of his reasoning faculties. He wrote about them in meticulous detail, presenting them as observations rather than allegories. According to him, the spiritual world is as structured and substantial as our own physical world, though not governed by physical laws. Instead, it reflects inner states, our inner thoughts and affections, which shape our surroundings. Crucially, he insisted that we remain recognizably ourselves after death. We retain our senses. We speak, we listen, we interact. Communication there, he suggests, is even more direct than here. For rather than being limited by spoken languages, spirits communicate through shared ideas. Thought meeting thought. Understanding is immediate. No translation required. He even described spiritual conversation as possessing a kind of musical cadence, harmonious, expressive, especially when groups gather, as if speech and song were intertwined. Whether taken literally, symbolically, or psychologically, Swedenborg's account is notable for one central claim: the next life, if it exists, is emphatically social. In Swedenborg's vision, people gravitate towards others who share their deepest loves and values. Those who delight in generosity or compassion or goodness find themselves among communities shaped by those same qualities. Companionship is warm, joyful, and freely chosen. Those who somewhat resist such qualities, he suggests, likewise gather with others of similar character and attitude to themselves. Even then, no one is consigned to absolute solitude. Association reflects inner disposition, but isolation is not the final word. Now, this is a moral as well as a metaphysical vision. Our relationships beyond death, according to this vision, mirror the desires we cultivate in life, the character we form for ourselves. So, will we be alone after death? No empirical study has yet settled the matter, and perhaps it never will. Yet, across spiritual traditions, across personal testimony, and across philosophical vision, one theme recurs with quiet insistence. If consciousness continues, it does so in connection with others. I believe that death opens us into being known and knowing others more fully than before. That we will not only be able to talk, we will have a fuller, more immediate and more heartfelt communication, no longer limited by differences of language, but instead able to connect through the very ideas and affections that form our thoughts. Thanks for listening to me. If you've been interested, why not give me a like and offer a comment? It does encourage YouTube to show this video to a wider audience. And if you're interested in my other videos on the afterlife, you can click the playlist link right now.